Welcome to Women Building Women, the podcast with the intent of driving out animosity amongst women. I'm your host, Samantha Letshedi, and this is episode 5, Dispelling Tribal Stereotypes. The things that make us different can either bring us together, opposites attract, as they say, or can cause a division. Apart from being different by virtue of being a unique individual with different personalities, we fall into different ethnic groups and different tribes. In the first episode, we spoke about animosity coming from a place of the unknown, and tribal stereotypes are potentially one of the factors. One of the values of Women Building Women is acknowledging our differences and being accepting of one another despite of those differences. So let's find out from our lovely guests who they are and the tribe that they belong to.
Hi, I am Yamkela Qondani and I am Xhosa.
Hi, I'm Deandra and I'm Afrikaans.
Hi, my name is Aphiwe Thabethe, Thabethe in full, and I am Zulu.
Hi, I'm Koketso Kobe and I am Betty.
So, what are some of the stereotypes that you have heard about your culture? And yeah, ma'am, I'll start with you. You're Xhosa, and in my first episode, I confessed that I am guilty of saying Xhosa women love money, because that's the thing that we heard growing up, that they love money, they love men, but then again, who does not love money? So what are some of the stereotypes that you have heard?
That's exactly the one. Everywhere you go, especially in Gauteng, when you come here, you're like, I'm Xhosa, that guy must be a gold digger. I'm just like, what do you like? Rocks. Because I think we all love money. And yeah, I mean, I've got my theories as to why I think that is. And I trace it back to, when the time whereby different cultures would move from their habitats to come to Johannesburg to hustle and make money and work in the mines. And my opinion about this matter is the fact that I feel like what happened was men left their wives and their children at home and they came to work here and they never went back. We've had so many of those stories whereby they came to Johannesburg, never went back home. And in the case that they did go back home, they had found a Xhosa woman in Gauteng to cohabit with. And when they got back, the story was like, Xhosa women are the ones that are taking the man in Johannesburg. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's the best I can attribute where the stereotypes comes from, because it was I got very curious about it, and I did a bit of digging, and that's the best thing I could come up with, honestly. Yeah.
Some of my stereotypes I've heard that are part of the Afrikaans culture, I would say typically I'm like for
the short shorts,
the tight shorts that show everything, because the Afrikaans men like to show their dominance and their rugby build. Yeah, I would say that in terms of English, because I am Afrikaans, but I was brought up English. Yeah. So I would say in terms of English, actually one of my friends told me this in school, where I was, apparently there's different cheeses for different...
When?
Apparently it's a typical stereotype, and I didn't know that. I was sitting at lunch, and they say it's a typical English white girl cheese. And it was a very interesting stereotype. I've never heard it before. That? It's what is it called?
Please don't tell me it's laughing cow cheese.
It's called Kiri cheese.
Oh damn, you mean the ones with the little red?
No, not those ones, but it's a white cheese that you put with like sweet chili and crackers.
Oh damn, yeah!
Yes, apparently that's a typical white girl cheese. So whenever I would go, it's the funniest story. It will always stay with me, because it was something that I learned. I never knew it was a typical white girl English stereotype, where you would come and have a packed lunch and it would be all like this. And I had crackers with cheese and sweet chili. And they're like, oh my gosh, that is such a white girl lunch. And I was like, what? I never knew that was a stereotype. So yeah, apparently like a Mediterranean curry cheese.
Curry cheese, grapes, little biltong on the side.
Oh, that's a typical Afrikaans
So
stereotype. And funny
Yeah.
enough, I can't eat red meat, so I don't follow that biltong Afrikaans stereotype.
Okay. One of the biggest stereotypes for me that I've heard is that Zulu people can't speak English. I mean, where does that come from? I mean, I am speaking the English right now. I speak it well. Another stereotype is that we're violent. We're not, guys. I am a lovable, little, cuddly, peaceful person. My mom is a peaceful person. My dad is a peaceful person. I'm not saying there aren't any people like they think we're gunslingers carrying guns around and running around in the middle of nowhere. But I think that one for me really stood out because people will be like, yeah, no, Zulu people are so violent. You guys just go around shooting guns in the air. And I'm like, I've never held a gun in my life. And I speak it in English. So, I don't know. But yeah, those are my two big stereotypes.
One I've heard about, or two, about generally Betty people, the guys. I've heard that they are mama's boys. Bomma, if you've heard that before. And then specifically to women, apparently we practice witchcraft.
Apparently,
If you go to Limpopo, you might come back without your belongings. Apparently, and I'm like, I don't know how I would physically be able to fly on a broom, but okay. I don't know how that's scientifically possible, but alright, do. But yeah, that's what I've heard about Betty people.
Okay, I've heard that as well.
You've heard
Apparently,
that.
Betty women, vendor women as well. Like, as long as you come from Limpopo, but you guys dabble in witchcraft.
Double agents.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the Xhosa women, yam, like I said, men, money, and the one that I didn't hear, because before this episode, I was doing research and I was asking a number of people. But the one that I didn't hear, but it's one that I experienced, was back when I was in varsity. I stayed at different communes, and I was always like sharing a space with Xhosa women, and they were so untidy. Like, so untidy. They'd leave dishes in the water to rot for a month. It would be so smelly in the kitchen. They would throw their pads, not even throw, like leave an open pad by the bathroom, by the tub. And it's like, okay, should I throw your pad away for you? But they would look so beautiful. Like when they would come out and be out there on the streets, you'd be like, damn, mommy is so fine. But where she comes from, is so untidy. And with Afrikaans women or just white women in general, what I got from my findings was that you don't like to apply lotion. Hey, I don't know how they found out about the lotion. Mare, apparently you guys and lotion, you do not mix. And then Zulu women, a lot of other Zulu women said this. Actually, they say that you guys are really stubborn. Like you are so stubborn. But you are bold as well. And also you guys love abapansi and sisters. Like you're all about that. Apparently. So what stereotypes that you guys have heard like about other tribes?
I'm not sure if this is, I think it is, but a lot of my Sotho friends used to complain how, they used to go with their Zulu friends to like Pick n Pay or Woolworths, and the teller would speak to all of them in Zulu. And I think it's a typical stereotype that every black woman knows or speaks Zulu.
Yeah.
And they always used to complain at school how like they always were like in that bracket of culture.
Yeah, I think a stereotype I've heard is, and I think it's because I saw it often, is that like Afrikaans people would force their children to walk barefoot because for their immune system, yes, so that they're not weak in terms of the immune system. And then with Xhosa people, apparently, I know petty people, they're like near lawyer, but apparently, apparently, yo, in Eastern Cape, it's not a game. It's fair play. They were the double agents. It's fair play. It's fair play. And then with petty people, there's this assumption that everyone is big bone, big booty, like hips and waist, like,
BBL.
Yeah, kitty BBL. Yeah.
What I've actually heard about Zulu women, funny enough, you're saying they're stubborn, but I've heard that they're very submissive.
Oh, yes.
Wow. I've heard that they like really submit to their husbands, to any man. Actually, it's always like yeah, baba. Like that's actually what I've heard, and it's like if you meet or marry a Zulu woman, like that's the wife because she will submit to every single thing you do.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
That's what I've just heard.
I've heard
That's
that
a
as well.
ding-dong
Like, I think Zulu women don't have a very negative notion on stereotypes because more than anything, they are the perfect wife. It's that yebo baba siyakhothama, yebo kind of dynamic. And then with the petties, apparently you're on some acha steez, like nobody's business. Apparently they make acha there.
Apparently, but I won't lie, Acha gives you.
I swear to God, acha gives.
I won't lie, though, Acha
Afterwards.
gives you.
Smell by his boots.
No, Acha gives you. Acha and cheese. Do you know Acha and cheese?
Ipapa and cabbage and an egg on the side. An egg. I swear to God.
I heard that in Limpopo, children don't eat meat, so they have a lot of pap and they have a lot of eggs.
Yeah,
and then meat is for old people.
But guys, pop an egg slap though. Like,
Pap and eggs does slap. Pap and eggs does slap.
Don't slap
does
it until
slap.
you try it at the end
But
of the day.
I was like, no, children don't eat meat. And I'm like, what? Where I come from, meat is just as good as meat is the plate. My own father won't eat anything that doesn't have a meat in it. What? What do you mean? You live without a chicken? You live without a drumstick? What?
This is like a reminder of like in terms of South Africans in general, like how we ride lines to school.
Oh
and to work, and it's like those. Where in the world do you get that
lions
from?
as
Sometimes it's a damn shame because like people will be like, yeah, I'm sure you have hippopotamuses running around. You'll be like, no, and
keep
then
a
one
lion.
escapes from a zoo, and then it goes like,
Oh,
Yeah, so with Yam, Xhosa woman, because of what I heard growing up, I was always like, hey, I can't be friends with these Xhosa women that like men and money. I don't know what that's about. That does not align with my values and my morals. But I met Yam and I just loved her. Like it was an instant connection as well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so awesome. And we go to church every Sunday together. Like it's that kind of vibe. So do you guys find it difficult to interact with women outside of your ethnic group or outside of your tribe? Mainly based on, these stereotypes, like, the stereotype that I had of Xhosa women, I don't think I can be friend. But when I got to know a Xhosa woman, I was like, oh, she's actually awesome. So do you find it hard to interact with them?
Yeah, I don't personally. I've got my best friend is Betty. I don't know how that happened. I promise, because we met in Cape Town as well, which is there's very little petties in Cape Town, but we got along. And I won't lie, when I first met her, I did not like her much. I was like, who this? And no, stay away. Until we got to talk, and then I realized actually she's tribe. I think for me, the most thing that we can do in that dynamic is just to be human. If you are a human and you're humane towards people, I don't think the cultural difference should be hindering your process of getting to know other people. When I did move eventually to Johannesburg, right, I realized that people speak in their language. It's the battle of the tongues. It's like, who gives in first? I'll come in and say, Molo, uti dumelang, kiri unjan, kiri teng wena. And then it depends who gives in first.
Yeah.
It's a matter who gives in first, but more than anything, I think if you're being humane and that cultural difference should not be a hinder of you struggling to connect with other people, because I do feel like you will genuinely miss on very good genuine connections with other people, because also we come with so much perspective, different perspectives, and when we sit in a room like this, you realize how so much we have in common compared to how we differ. And I think we really should give it a chance and just be human about it.
I just want to add on that with a personal side story. So growing up, I grew up Zulu. I am Zulu. At home, we spoke Zulu. We came from KZN, so it was a very Zulu household. And then when I started school, I went to school in Pretoria, CBD, in the heart. So there was a lot of Tswana and Pedi speaking people in that space. And I won't lie, kids are vicious, okay? Kids are damn vicious.
They're mean.
They're very mean. And it would be very difficult for me to communicate with them because they would communicate in Tswana and Pedi, in Sotho. And it got to the point where even when I tried to learn, there'd be there would be a sense of animosity between me learning. Say, for example, my accent isn't right when I say something, or I said it in the wrong tense. But as I grew up, obviously, I learned in just practicing and stuff like that. But I feel like when it comes to the animosity between tribes, because this is also another stereotype about Zulu people, that apparently we only get along with each other. That's also one of the stereotypes I've come to find, and it's completely false. My best friend is half Swati, half Sotho. My other best friend is from Lesotho. I have so many different kinds of friends, and because I went to an all-black girls' school, I even have friends in different cultures from different countries. And it's never really hindered me. It's actually made me even more interested in figuring out who this person is. I have a taste and a love for different cultures because that opens your mind and it opens how you are and how you shape the world around you. About that, with the battle of the languages, I also found that when I moved to Johannesburg, because a lot of people say Joburg is KZN Part 2, that from being home in Pretoria, I'd have to now translate and speak Sotho or a little bit of Spitori, rap. I'd have to, from translating myself to directly only speaking Zulu because everyone is going to communicate with me in Zulu here in Joburg. That's also a shift. But yeah, I've never had any animosity. I've actually loved it and appreciated it that I'd have different friends from different tribes. Because I won't lie, food bangs in different tribes.
Yeah.
Food, me, I'm a foodie, food bangs. So
Popping
we always
eggs.
like this, popping eggs. And cheese. But,
I've experienced it, but not necessarily from different tribes. So a bit of backstory. My dad is Pedi from Limpopo, but he grew up in Tembisa.
Yeah.
And my mom is Swati and grew up in Pretoria. So they both grew up in townships where they speak Tsotsital.
yeah.
And obviously when they bring us up, we grow up speaking that. Yes, of course you go home every now and then, but you don't grow up speaking Sepedi to the core. So the type of animosity I've actually experienced is especially from women who directly come from Limpopo or come from home to say is to say that you are not Pedi enough. How do you call yourself that when you can't even properly to the T speak the language? How dare, and it's like, where do I stand then? Like, what am I, So in the sense of now in the modern culture, I don't really experience it because when you meet someone like, for instance, Sam, or when we're speaking English, so you don't even know what tribe that person is from. You're just connecting already automatically. Then you find out, oh my gosh, Aphiwe is Zulu. Oh my gosh, hi, that's right. So there's no animosity off the bat, but I found that from your own culture, you can also experience that type of animosity.
No, definitely. In the same sense, people from KZN feel like Zulu people who come from Joburg speak a different language and they look down on them. Yes, that is true. Say for example, the Q's we pronounce, uqina nokuqina are two different things, and people so often make that a point. Ukuthi umuntu waseJozi is not a real Zulu person because they don't pronounce the same way they pronounce, and there'll be tsotsital that'll be merged up because in Joburg, that's where most people came from when they migrated from KZN. They went to Joburg to find work. So there's that animosity between the two different cultures that have been filtered and left untouched, if I could put it that way.
Yeah.
So I do agree with what you're saying there.
Yeah, I think we get the same thing. Like my Tswana here in South Africa is different from
Tswana
of my
Botswana.
cousins from Botswana. When they come here, I'm just like, whoa,
Like,
this is no.
And they make you feel like you're not Tswana enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You feel like you're not Tswana enough. Exactly that.
As if there's a test that you must pass.
And I love that because you touched on animosity, and I think that's what we are uncovering here, like the things that make us different, that cause a division. So how do you think we can break down these walls so that these walls that are created by tribal divisions, if I may put it that way, how do you think we can break that down? I mean, we in a space right now where all of you are my friends, we fall in different tribes, and I get along with all of you, and I love you so much.
I love you too.
But how do you think, with others that you interact with, how can you break down those walls?
Honestly, I'd say go out there, like meet new people, try and make new friends, like interact with different people, not just people from your own tribe, but then you get to see Sam for not just being, a Tswana girl, or Aphiwe for being a Zulu girl. Like, you get to see who that person is. So I feel like if you go out there, meet new people, interact with new people, then you get to make friends outside of your own tribe, and you get to interact and learn more about other tribes, and not just fall into those stereotypes, but actually learn a little bit more. Like, there's so much I've learned from you ladies today that I didn't know, and it's like, wow, that's so amazing to know. I did not know that. And going forward, I'll try not to appropriate or discriminate or stereotype in any sort of way, because now I feel like I've got that knowledge within me, and that's just from interacting with you ladies.
I completely agree with that. I feel like that was me a lot in school. As we had a lot of cultural debates and racial debates, and it was always a thing of, I think we all just need to embrace each other as a person, and that way you can embrace their background, embrace who they are. And I think that's an important thing to take away from culture and our differences, is let the person be who they are. And I think that was, I think like a lot of my friends really felt accepted by my presence, because I accepted them for who they are and not their background. And I was willing to learn. I think that's a very important thing to be like, listen, I don't actually understand why you wear this color and why you wear this pattern and why you do the things you do. Please, can you explain it? And I think it's also like not attacking someone for not understanding, because we're all different. I mean, we all come from different journeys, and I think that's an important thing to focus on. And I think that's something we can definitely learn from, is just learning from each other and embracing our differences.
Yeah. I think for me, I want to acknowledge the fact that I think naturally we do gravitate towards the people that we can relate to the most. And I think that's why we then tend to gravitate towards a closer speaking person. And if you're Tswana speaking person, it's in the workplace as well. I've noticed this, that you find that there's the east side and the west side, I call it, whereby you find white people gravitate towards each other and black people towards each other. And in that dynamic, it's not are you closer or are you Zulu, it's just you're black and I gravitate towards you more than I do versus, and that is a dynamic that plays a big part as to who we tend to gravitate towards. So it then goes back to what you ladies are saying, that it's unlearning that habit of what feels comfortable and natural and being open to learn and hear what other people have to say. Because more than anything, for me, as I'm a very spiritual and traditional person, and I do believe that our ancestors and our bloodlines interacted somewhere along the line of us forming this rainbow nation as a country that we live in right now. People got exiled, they went to find shelter in other cultures, and that's why we find mixed races and mixed cultures amongst ourselves as well. And you find that's why also I think we have so many common denominators in terms of what we believe in, what we see. And more than anything, I think it goes exactly to what you guys are saying, that you need to be open to learn, into understanding as to why why and who and when. And yeah, more than anything, just being open-minded and stepping out of a bit of what makes you comfortable and what comes natural, and just stepping a bit out of from that boundary and saying, I would like to learn a bit more. And I think with that being said, that would be the biggest thing that actually happens to us as a nation, to actually be open to one another, because I feel like we do hold so much animosity. If a Zulu person marries a Xhosa person, family already goes, "Woo, why are you bringing us this one?" kind of dynamic. And I feel like we are stronger together than we are individually. And that thing of being open to learn cultures and being accepting of other cultures is very important.
I also just want to say, to remove the bigotry from someone is to open up their mind, because I feel like having a very bigoted mindset is removing the humanity out of someone. And everyone comes from different spaces and different places. So I feel like if we remove that mindset that one is better than the other, or one is stronger than the other, or one is certain so and so than the other, then we leave the space to interpret ourselves correctly. Because it is important, like these ladies have said, that to learn a culture is to understand a person. To learn a culture is not only to understand a person, it's to understand their behavior, it's to understand their decisions, it's to understand their viewpoints, and it's to understand who they are in general. So I feel like learning to unlearn that, because like you said, when we gravitate towards what we know. So I feel like if we can remove that as well, not uncomfortably, not strip it away, because people don't learn in uncomfort too much, but taking little steps to pay attention to someone, like, oh, I see you're wearing this hat. What does it mean? And I'll be like, oh, well, it's for a married person, but I'm just wearing it for the swag, you know? Such and such. Oh, your dress is lovely. What do these colors represent? And you say A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, you know? That comfortable learning transition, the comfortable learning period that we need to have is crucial. Because I've been in spaces where I've wanted to learn, but the animosity given to me made me afraid to learn. So removing the sense of like, oh yeah, why you're asking, you don't need to ask, mind your business, you know, is important. And removing this idea that one is superior than the other is important as well, I feel. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's all about building each other up and not tearing each other down, and making each other feel like we can be a part of the same space and have our differences, but be a whole with those. And I definitely think it's just, as much as you want to approach someone, I feel like you should also teach yourself to be approachable.
Yes.
And willing to teach someone who wants to learn. And I think that's also, like you said, it's a big downfall in society today, is that people take that as judgment, learning for judgment or questions as an attack, where it's just so we could live in the same space with an understanding.
Hello, my name is Lerissa and I am Indian, more specifically Tamil.
I'm Charlene and I'm originally Cameroonian, but I was born and raised in South Africa.
Hey guys, I'm Sibongile, so I'm Changani.
Hi guys, my name is Tshegofatso and I am Tswana.
Rissa, what did you say you are specifically?
Tamil.
Tamil.
Yeah.
What is Tamil?
So Tamil people are more from the south of India. So when you see Bollywood, that's more North Indian, the lighter skin, straighter hair. Tamil people are generally more darker skinned. I suppose because it's maybe hotter that side, but yeah. In India, with the stereotypes that they have there and the classism, we are below the Hindi people. I mean, it used to be like that. I don't know so much anymore, but yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Wow.
Lots of colorism.
Yeah.
Lots of colorism. Because my grandfather was maybe your complexion. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. So Tamil people tend to be darker than Hindi people. And everybody knows Hindi people, Hindi food. But not so many people know much about Tamil culture.
I think when I think of Indian people, the only differences that I think of is in terms of religion. That's as far as I know. Yeah, but this is very interesting. Thank you. This is informative. So, Lerissa, what are some of the stereotypes that you have heard about Indian people? I think one of the main ones that I've heard is that you guys love spicy food. And I actually heard this from someone who came from America, who stays in New York. And I was like, these Indian people smell spicy. I'm like, how? Okay. Who's this? No, we're not disclosing these people. But yeah, what are some of the stereotypes that you have heard?
Yeah, I mean, like, Indian food tends to also have a lot of oil in it. And, when it's so hot in India, everybody's sweating. Oil, that's where the smell comes from. I've had people tell me, like, you smell like curry. Okay. And it's delicious.
That's true.
But people always assume that I want to eat spicy food, and that's not always the case. I have a sensitive tummy. I don't always want to eat spicy food. Like, went out with a friend and ordered like a hot dog. The lady put tomato and mustard on her one. Didn't even ask me. Immediately like put chili sauce on mine. And I was like, yo. Like, it's fine, but ask. And another stereotype also, like with mainly South African Indians, is that we're racist. And it's true.
I didn't expect that.
Obviously, I am the exception. But yeah, like even like with myself, I stereotype Indian people in that way, and I tend to shy away from Indian people. Because I know, like, I've hung around enough Indians from this country to know that, like, I don't really like the way you guys think. A lot of you are narrow-minded. A lot of you still have that, what do you call it? They're still on that kind of like hierarchy where they put white people on a pedestal, and then they believe that they're below that, and then black people are below that. So so I don't like that. And I don't involve myself with people like that. I mean, the times are changing, obviously, and people are changing, and that's great, but it's still very much a thing. Yeah.
Oh yes, I was gonna come in with the whole hierarchy thing. It's like, I feel sometimes my experience, right, that Indian people will be nice to you or will relate to you when it's like when it's best for them, right? So if they're in a situation and they feel like, I need the black people's support or whatever's going on with the blacks, I'm going to be cool with them. But there's a general stereotype about Indians that they think, as you said, they think that they're better than us. Actually, as you said, it's really true. They think
look
that
at our skin.
Yeah, they
we
look
are all
down
the same.
I mean, come on, we're brown. Come on our side. This is where the fun side is at, But yes, like, they do think that they are a bit better, and it just gives off a really sour taste in your mouth when I think about, especially in the workplace. Let me not say socially, but more in the workplace.
Yeah. Sure. How is it for you, like, being black and being raised in South Africa? Yes, but not originally being from South Africa.
That's a big one. For one, I don't look South African by phenotype. So people don't have to ask me where I'm from to know that I'm non-South African. Most people assume I am not South African, which is true. So it means I get that judgment before I've even spoken or said anything. And maybe the stereotypes aren't particular to Cameroonian people, but maybe to non-South African Africans, you know? So of course, as immigrants, it means we've left our home country looking for better opportunities. In the same way, anyone can leave any other province and come to Johannesburg looking for work or whatever. But there's an assumption that you are poor, that you are of lower class, that you are less than, and that you should be so grateful to be breathing the same air as other people, you know? There's also a weird thing that people do amongst the races. So as much as Lerissa was touching how Indian people might think that they're better than Black people, or white people are considered to be at the top of the pyramid, people who are non-Black tend to almost try pull us into their corner by saying, you're not like the other Black people. You know, so you guys are not like the other Blacks, or you guys have better morals than the South Africans. And it's almost in a way to divide us. So there's a lot of division from all corners, and it's very interesting because you end up, at least for me, I grew up feeling very alien, both from Black people, white people, whatever race. I was just this person. And it gave me character development, but it also taught me to take people as people and not necessarily as a Sutu, Tswana, or whatever person, but just this is this person. And the fact that they are open to trying to understand and get to know me means that I should look at them differently, because it shows that they're open-minded already.
Could I just touch on that actually, about you saying that, you know, other non-whites trying to divide you from like South African Black people,
including white.
Yeah. I'm obviously not friends with this person anymore. But I was around a group of Indians one time, and I had just come back from living in the States, and they were, I think it was around, I believe it was like Fees Must Fall or something. So a lot of the protests, you know, a lot of Indian people, colored people, white people talking about how Black people are hooligans, and, you know, horrible things to hear. And these people, my age mates, so young, saying such racist things. This was at like a little small braai, and I was like, hey, that is racist. And like only one other person kind of had my back. And because these people obviously felt comfortable to be racist around each other. And they were talking about, and I was like, are you guys hearing yourselves? That is really racist, and I'm feeling very uncomfortable. And one of the girls said, oh yeah, but like, you know, Lerissa dates Black guys, so like, that's why. And they went on to say that I've lived in the States, so the Black people there, like, you know, they're different, and even their hair is different. I was like, what are you saying? But also, like, you know, I've dated like Black South Africans as well. That was like not a thing for me. But they were obviously trying to say that Black African Americans were better than South African Black people.
Just to take from what both of you are saying, I actually find it very interesting how much, honestly, I hope this is the right word, classism exists within the same tribe. Well, whether it's cultures, tribes, races, or whatever the case may be, because I'm Changani, right? But what you'll find is, because I'm fair-skinned, people will be like, oh, wow, you don't look Changani. Because their anticipation is that you should be dark, you know, with strong African features, big lips, big nose. You should be a big woman. You know what I mean? And then it's almost like, are you sure you're Changani? You know what I mean? So it's actually sad how within our own tribes or our own cultures, we put each other down. And then also it extends to the wider group. Then they also say, wow, well, these type of Changanis or these type of Black people are better. Or while you hear is that, oh, the Changani people from Maputo are decent and the ones from Mozambique are like this. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's almost like even
Division.
within, yes, exactly. There's a lot of division within our own cultures where a certain group of people feel like they represent the culture better than you do as an individual for whatever reason. Just because maybe you don't speak the language or you don't wear the clothes all the time or cook the food all the time. It's like, oh, you're not embracing this Tsonga or this Changani culture that we are all embracing. So you cannot potentially be fully Tsonga, you're just like a modern version of this tribe.
Tsonga light.
So, exactly. Tsonga LTE, you're right. So I can resonate with what you're saying for sure.
So what I heard when I did my research, firstly, people say Tswana women are stingy. I think we just know how to, spend wisely. I don't know. I don't know about the term. I do not know about the term stingy. And then secondly, remakaka. Makaka being rude. Is that the
cheeky, we feisty.
Yes.
You're full of nonsense, basically. You're full of nonsense.
Yes,
the best.
that's another one. And then someone else said it's either you find a very crazy Tswana girl or a really sweet girl. Nothing in between. I've heard that a lot. And the one that I love the most that comes from a lot of guys is the Tswana women are beautiful. Oh, thank you.
Yes.
So have you heard anything else about us?
I did great things.
Other than we're beautiful.
I think, Tswana women are, especially from Rustenburg, are heartbreakers. Like, I'm fighting battles. There was a time in my social media days on Twitter and I was fighting for my tribe, okay? Like, every day I would put on my armor and I'm gonna fight for us. There is no way. I was swearing by my name. No way. Tswana women, heartbreakers. Come on. Okay, let me not say heartbreak. We were ripping men's hearts apart.
You are destroyers.
We are destroyers. I have never met a Tswana girl who's savage. It's apparent.
Okay, I can say this. My partner, his grandmother was full-blown Tswana. The Tswana that you were referring to, that when you go to Botswana, you can hear the accent.
Yeah.
And she literally advised him. She was like, don't ever marry a Tswana woman. I'm just putting it out there. So it's that. It's like, they will break your heart. These people. So, I mean, it's a stereotype, right?
It's a
not
stereotype.
true.
It's not true.
So
My mom's Tswana and she's the sweetest.
oh, yes, exactly. So Sib's already shared what she's heard about women from other tribes. What have you guys heard about women from other tribes? The stereotypes.
I mean, I've heard that Tswana women have amazing style. You guys dress well.
Yeah, so true.
I have never heard that before.
I mean,
That sounds like a compliment, not a stereotype.
I've heard about Tsonga women that they don't like women who are not Tsonga. So they just generally don't like women of other cultures. That's what I've heard. Seriously. And you are definitely my first Tsonga friend.
No, guys. Honestly, I've also heard this thing, apparently, but I honestly haven't experienced it myself. But apparently, like, I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
Apparently, Tsonga people are very, like, it's hard to break into that circle. Like, even within the family, like, you need to be talking the language and wear the shebelani to be able to penetrate, But I think, like, at home, we are a little bit more westernized. So my dad kind of, like, eased down on a lot of the, stringent rules of, this is what you need to be and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, and also growing up in Pretoria doesn't help because we talk like all languages, you know? 012. Yeah, we speak all languages. So literally, even if you're raised in a Zulu household, Tsonga household, whatever, you speak Spitori. That'll be the language, it's mixed with everything. But
No, that is true. I mean, besides the one, I think we already covered it with Lerissa about stereotypes about Indians, which we've spoken about. But I mean, outside of that, I really don't know any other. Does it have to be from someone?
No.
Anyone? Any other one?
Yeah, like I heard the other day, I asked an Ndebele guy and he said Ndebele women have long necks. I'm like, okay, and then
Wow.
like I
Is it
don't
the traditional
Necks or legs?
You know those
stuff, necks.
Oh, that's
those Ndebele, right?
yeah.
Is it that word? Is
Yes,
that where it comes
they
from?
extend their necks.
But
It's a sign of victory.
Yes.
There's also a tribe in China that does that.
Yeah, there is actually.
oh, and then another person also said, and this one is so funny because someone here in Joburg told me this, but I've also heard it in Rustenburg as well, where they said Sotho women love men so much that they will shapa you gastina. They will take your husband.
Have you seen that? Yeah, that's why be a helper.
Yeah, they were like, this lady will come in, she's your helper there at the house. Next thing, she takes your husband. And I've heard it a lot of times from different people. Like, it's actually scary. I'm like, is this true? But unfortunately, I don't have Sotho friends, guys. So I can't dispel the myth in this case, you know. So, you know, Sibs, you spoke about how you guys, you know, keep it like tight knit. Have you found it difficult developing friendships with women outside of your tribe, or you know, just interacting with them?
To be honest, I think right now we live in a very different world, to be honest. Like when I meet you, the first thing I see is you before whether you're Tsonga or Changani. Because here I am, I'm Changani, but I don't speak a lick of Changani, right? I speak Spitori or Swat, whatever language is spoken. So when you meet me, your initial thought is not going to say, you are Changani, you know? So let me, I feel some type of way. So I think now we're a little bit modernized, you know, the new generation has changed a lot. I actually was thinking about this, and I feel like it almost feels like we as youth want to live our parents' traumas or fight for our parents' traumas and problems.
Yes.
And you know, so those boundaries, those stereotypes, those are things, because my grandmother and her neighbor who was Zulu fought, now Zulu people and whoever hate each other. Now, 100 years later, us as Zulu people and Changani people don't get along. I mean, that's just an example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I honestly, I don't see that anymore. Like when I meet someone, I'll ask them maybe later on, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after knowing them, if I have to, where are you Tswana, so to what, you know, but that honestly really comes up in a conversation. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, I think for me, what you said about fighting our parents' battles resonates for me so strongly, because my parents obviously immigrated in the 90s, the early 90s, when South Africa was also like in a very unstable time politically. They had just had democracy, and there were all of a sudden all these new people coming in from other African countries coming into South Africa, and other non-South Africans were new and foreign to them, and they did experience a completely different experience to my experience, you know? So I do go home and hear directly from my parents or my aunties, my uncles, my cousins, about how South Africans in general are a certain kind of way, whether it be that they are loose or too modern or too Americanized, or even just xenophobic, to use that word. And I'm not saying that xenophobia does not exist, but I can also fight for the fact that we're sitting here like this means that my experience is different to their experience, you know? So I can validate their experience and understand where they're coming from, but I also can't carry that burden on my chest into every single interaction I'm having, because I'm not living in the 90s. This is 2023, you know? So yeah.
Yeah. Can I just offer him quickly? Sips, you know, I've heard this thing of, and I hear you refer to yourself as Changane, right? And I think I've heard around that, or even on social, that calling Tsonga people Changane is offensive.
I've heard that as well.
And I don't. I just call Tsonga people. So I just wanted to understand where the offense comes in and whether it is offensive or not from someone from your point. Like, where does the offense come from? Because there's a reason for an offense, and why are people so strong they feel that it's offensive, but here you are, you're okay with calling yourself that. Would you feel offended if I were to say, oh, but limachangani, like, right? So I don't know where it comes from, or if you could explain it to me.
So personally, no, at all, never. In fact, I always say Kimuchangan. That's how I if ever anyone asks, I'll really say I'm Tsonga. And I think there's also sort of a thing, apparently, in a way, some people see it as almost Changan is the vernac and then Tsonga is the English.
Oh, okay.
You understand? But if I'm not wrong, and please, Tsonga people, don't come for me. I think I've looked into this really long ago, but I'm not going to go really much into detail with it. But the little that I know is that the Tsonga and the Changans were two different tribes. Not like it's almost like saying, I can't remember, like in Zimbabwe, there's like the Ndebele Zimbabweans and yes, and then there was sort of like a thing. So basically, it's like it almost like it was like a separation there. It wasn't necessarily that one is offensive, one is sort of an insult, and one is not. It was more two different tribes. And one refers to themselves as the Changans and the other ones refer to themselves as the Tsongas. But I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't have much details on it. But basically, from my perspective, I don't. I don't know why people get offended, honestly, you know?
Thank you.
I love that question. You should be my co-host next time.
Yes, girl.
You know, like even with Lerissa, when I met Lerissa, like she said, I think she explained this in a previous episode. It was like instant magic. Like we clicked, and it wasn't about what the color of my skin is, you know, what race I fall under. We just got along, and it's like what I even said previously, that you're all sitting here, different tribes, but we're friends and we all get along, and you know, I love you all. It's not even something that I think about, but I think the whole point of this was because some people tend to have, you know, that thing of this person falls under this tribe, they believe in this, or they do this. I can't associate myself with this person. So, you know, like they refrain from developing a friendship. But I wanted this to be very informative. It has been informative for myself as well, this episode. But I needed for people to find out that as much as we are different by virtue of the tribes that we fall under, but we are still humans at the end of the day, you know, and we can develop these friendships. And I just really hope that after this, people are more welcoming and accepting of women or just people in general that fall under tribes that are different from theirs.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And I just to add on to that, I just think it's so interesting how you can have barriers, like these tribal barriers and whatnot. But if you fall in love, you forget. If you see a man and you don't ask yourself, Tsonga, Xhosa, those barriers will fall away. So you see, it's all about love, honestly. You know?
Yes. And I think you answered what I was going to ask you, that how do you think that we can break down these walls, these divisions that are caused by tribes? Yeah, Sib's already answered it, but if anyone wants to add on, that would be great.
I think before anything, we are people, right?
Yes.
Before anything, before you're actually even your job title, what you do, your looks, your anything, we are people. And, you know, if we can just interact on that, like, we can relate so much. We relate. Like, we actually, you know, like, we are so similar in our different ways, right? So if we actually just see people for who they are and not our tribes, I mean, it just adds on. Oh, you're Tswana as well. Oh, you know, like, it just adds on. But really, like, you can see your greatest relationships are even formed outside of your own tribes.
Yes.
And so really, tribes are just, you know, social constructs that are there to disrupt. So, yeah.
I love that.
I
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. Social constructs are dangerous. I've realized how dangerous they are and how much they impact us physically. You know? Yeah.
And not everyone gravitates towards the same tribe. There was actually a girl at the complex. I met her. I was actually going to her unit to complain because she was making a noise. But I got there. Karen, yes. And then she opens the door, and then I talk to her. Oh, girl, it's so noisy and whatnot. And then I think she spoke Tswana. I'm like, oh my gosh, where are you from? But you can hear Tswana. But this one, Kwakotau, Botswana, Rustenburg, like you can hear. And she confirmed that she's from Rustenburg. And I'm like, oh my gosh, home girl. I got so excited. And she gave me that look, yeah, okay. And then, like, what must we do with that piece of information? And even afterwards, I'd bump into her and greet her. And she just had this vibe of, hey, girl, like really, we're not about...
Because you told her to turn her music down?
Yes. It's not about that. And hi, guys, I think she even forgot, but she's just like, she's not feeding me. So it's not even about that. But you know what? Again, reiterating, it's just all about accepting each other, whether we fall within the same tribe, out of that tribe. It really doesn't matter. As Tshegofatso said, we are all humans at the end of the day, and we should just be accepting of each other.
Open to new people, new experiences, new culture.
Do you guys remember in Mean Girls? Did you guys all watch Mean Girls?
Yeah, Regina.
You know, when they're all standing on the stage and saying their thing, and then there's that one girl that's like, I wish I could bake a cake. And we could all eat it and be happy.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
She's like, can it be a space cake?
Speaking of,
second you on that one.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This was such an informative episode. I enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, ladies.
and that's a wrap.